welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
It's been an interesting few years, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it has. It's weird. It kind of just hit me now. I know that sounds crazy because I've had like an entire day. I was on BBC Breakfast this morning. And right now you saying all of that, I was like, oh, whoa, here I am.
Big numbers.
Yeah.
Big numbers.
Yeah.
That decision to be so honest,
Uh-huh.
especially when you know that you're putting it out there, because for years when social media first started, people have found out later on, the tweets that they sent me when they were 16 and it's come back to bite them on the backside, people were saying, look, be really careful about what you put on. Because I think initially people just thought they were speaking to one person. What they really doing was standing on top of a bus stop in a busy high street and shouting out there.
That's scary.
Yeah, but that is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So then when that camera is in front of you and you decide, okay, I want to tell the world about something that's important to me or about me, what's the filter?
Well, there's definitely more of one now, having been online for a while. There was a time when I guess my filter was it was messed up anyway because I was suffering from mental health issues. Wow, I'm just going straight in. See, there is no filter. I just talk openly. Anyway, yeah, so like there was a time in which I couldn't I didn't really know when to stop kind of like opening up. I liked talking about myself and like what I was dealing with and struggling with. And I think over the years and over being online, I've kind of like learned my own boundaries and where it feels acceptable and like good to like share and when to like hold back as well. Yeah.
When was the last time you looked at some of those early videos, or do you just go, okay, I keep moving forward?
Gosh, videos are interesting because I think like videos I write and I edit them as well, so they're still kind of like crafted in a way, but like sharing online in like other places, like for example Instagram, I used to do in-depth posts of like basically diary entries, like what I was feeling at the time. Like there was a time when I went on a tour around the US and I was not in a very good headspace and I would just like pour it out online like every day. And in a way it was kind of interesting to see what it was like inside my head, but also I was probably sharing a little too much and going a bit too in depth. So I know it's interesting to look back on, but I can totally see, I'm glad I've like learned lessons from it.
How did that affect your family? Because I guess in certain instances, they're discovering things about you there, not in your living room or in your bedroom.
Yeah. My friends would say like, I mean, you'd go to bed and like I'd watch your Snapchat after like saying goodnight and you'd be like crying on it and I didn't know. And it was interesting. My family are different because I don't know, we're very strange. We have like weird boundaries anyway. So like it was just very complicated, like having social media in my life and in a relationship. But like now it's like, I don't know. I think it's getting easier the more I learn.
That's fascinating. Did it affect friendships quite negatively in that respect? Because of course, when you're on line to someone and you have a trust and you have a love and you have a relationship for each other, and then you're doing something to strangers that you haven't given to them, they will understandably, and even that may even sound selfish for them, but understandably they'll feel hurt by that.
Well, I think because everyone in my friendship group has struggled with this. Like we've all kind of talked about it anyway, the feeling of like sharing to friends, sometimes you'll feel burdensome. So like sharing online kind of lifts that weight by just screaming it into a void and like pretending that no one else is seeing it, but also kind of knowing that someone else is seeing it. So like my friends are very understanding and have also suffered with like mental health issues and also being online. So like I think they came to me kindly and they were like, let's chat instead. You know, I saw your post, you're right. So yeah. They're very understanding.
Is that easier, do you think? Because the thing that we're quite often told, and there's a lot of fact in this, is that men find it very difficult to talk about their vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Women less so, but still.
I don't know. I mean, I just think it's hard for everyone, to be honest.
It's hard when you're in a world whereby everyone's curating their best self.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
the hardest thing.
What's really hard is. Like today I went on BBC Breakfast and I talked really quickly about this condition I have called derealization, which is essentially where your brain disconnects from kind of reality when you're feeling really, really stressed or like depressed or whatever. It's very, very common. And there's like an entire like large section of my life with like where I've struggled with like depression from that. But I mentioned it very quickly online, and already there were some like people who'd never heard of it before, who I understandably was like, "What's this? What are you talking about? I have no idea. Like, what is this
Where
made
do you
up
go?
illness?" What do you mean?
You detach yourself from reality
Oh, I see.
because of the stress.
Uh-huh.
But where do you go?
Um,
Where's the place? Where's the safe place? Or there isn't a safe place.
Yeah,
It's just that literally cut it off.
Well, this condition for me personally, it just makes me very spaced out. And like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm like living in a dream sometimes. Wow, I've really just gone in depth about my mental health issues.
No, but that's interesting because you have done beforehand.
Yeah.
And talk.
It's just my natural instinct. I'm like, I'll talk about what I know because it just pours out of me.
And is there a way of managing that?
The mental health bad stuff? Well, yeah, I've gone to therapy. I suffered with depression for a while because it felt like I wasn't really living properly, and it felt like I couldn't be okay while feeling so spaced out all the time. But then going to therapy and learning lessons about why my brain does what it does, it kind of like allowed me to gain control on it. And then like, you know, through like building myself back up after that, you give yourself tools that you can like use in everyday life. And also talking about it online, like connecting with other people who feel this way makes you feel like you're not crazy, like you're not mad, and like, you know, you can like make friends online. It's great.
What's validation? Because one of the most dangerous things about being someone who is as famous as you are online is that, and you've seen this, it's likes and shares. And I'm sure you know people who are constantly flicking and flicking to go. They post something up and it's like, oh, this has only received X amount of likes. And oh my gosh, isn't it a good page?
Yeah.
Have you been that person?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely in the early stages of being online, I kind of got caught in the whole trap that is like your worth is in your shares and your likes. I think that there was a point in time where I realized that if I attached my happiness onto the numbers, I would not be happy. I would just crash and burn because, you know, you can't stay, you just can't do that. It's not very healthy. So I think I worked hard on like putting my fulfillment in my music and my work and my art, because then I feel like I'll always grow creatively there. And so I'll feel much better rather than seeking it from validation.
And you massively have. Your songs are beautiful and vulnerable. You know, and that's not a bad thing at all. And we're going to hear you perform live for us, and we're going to talk some more.
Yes.
Dodie. I promise you I won't kind of keep dwelling on that particular bit. Yeah, I know you will, but it's not fair to do that. Otherwise, you're going to need to lie down for about 4 hours afterwards.
We're just human. Thank you.
Oh, Dodie, come back out. Hang out with me. Come and hang out with me some more. Oh, amazing. Amazing. I just imagine how many people were listening to that and then just drew closer and closer to the speakers and the world just disappeared around them.
That's so nice.
As it was singing.
You're so complimentary. Thank you.
No, but it's good. It's so good to hear it. It's just like a perfect way of disappearing from the world. But also as well, this song is
Yes. Feed me compliments. Give me.
Well, it's I'm trying to strike the balance between it being a beautiful love song, but then sad in its kind of extreme neediness.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main thing, because I actually wrote this song like 2 years ago, and I wrote it for someone who I was going to sing with, who I was kind of holding on to in my times of not feeling very well. You know, in like a new relationship where you're feeling so excited and like they're the only thing that you think about, and like, I don't know, yeah. And then like I thought it was a love song when I was writing it. I was like, this is such a sweet song about human connection. And then 2 years went by, weird things happened, you know, time.
Things happen.
And then looking back, I was like, oh damn, there's a line that says you'll keep me intact, and it's like no one is supposed to keep you intact. That's really unhealthy.
It's really interesting you say that, because I don't know if you saw any of Louis Theroux's recent documentaries.
I didn't, but I love him.
Right.
Wait, oh yes, there was one on polyamory.
Yes, so that one.
Yes.
Right, so that one, in one of it, the woman says to the man, and she's the one very much in control. She has another husband and him. And she says, your happiness is not my responsibility. Which I thought, that kind of chilled me to the bone. Because I'm married, and I feel as though partly my wife is there to be responsible for my happiness. I'm there to be responsible for it. Not solely, but otherwise, why am I there? Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. There's definitely two ways of looking at it. I mean, I'm not the expert on relationships, clearly.
Oh, yeah, reading your lyrics.
Yeah,
now
I
I'm thinking,
know.
yeah, okay.
But I do think it's best to live your life being okay on your own and to love yourself in your own company.
That takes so long.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Right.
I'm nowhere near there yet. But
Well, you're 23, you got a while. I'm 47. I still haven't worked it out, if I'm honest. So you got a while to go. That ability to be able to be with yourself and not try and drown it out with your phone, with Netflix, with whatever, is quite a thing. But touring does provide a lot of space and potentially a lot of boredom and perhaps over introspection.
yeah, touring, actually, I think touring is where I feel maybe at most, like, I think I feel the most lonely and also the least lonely, because I'm going through an experience that is like by myself. Sometimes I feel it's very strange to, like play a show and then like meet everyone, and like sometimes it's really tough. People will like give you stories that you're not really able to handle because it's so much, and I feel like I can only go through that alone. But then I'll be surrounded by my band and my friends, and like I'll wake up and like hear murmurs, and we'll all go for breakfast and we can all talk about it. Yeah. So it's a very interesting experience. I love touring. It's like highs and lows to the max.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is how I kind of like to live my life, I guess, or at least it's how I live my life, and so I've kind of learned to like it.
How much of a responsibility do you feel that you have
Oh,
to your
I
fans?
have it. Like, no matter what, I have it. So a lot, I guess. Yeah.
But then how do you then understand that you are still a young woman who needs to be able to make mistakes, have a life, experience things that are perhaps on the fringes
Yeah.
of what people would regard as normal, and that not be judged for any of that?
I mean, it's really hard because I have made mistakes and I continue. I will do so.
Why not? You're
Because
human. You are human.
Human,
Yes,
exactly. And like, I think, I don't know, that's what I've been saying, like with this EP and all the songs, there's like an underlying theme of like maybe shame in like a lot of the lyrics and a lot of the songs. Like, for example, there's a song called She, which is about liking a girl because I'm bisexual. And I realized that at 17. And like, there are some lines in there where I'm like, am I allowed to do this? I feel strange. Like, she'll never know. I'll never, ever tell. But like in like, yeah, so like that. And then there's a song called Burned Out, in which I kind of talk about the pressure of having a lot of people love me, and also the good and bad and scary from having that. So yeah, basically that is like, I'm human. I feel all these feelings. And I hope that whenever I do make mistakes, or I come across as unlikable, people will be able to be like, she's just a human being. She's just a very plain human being.
Well, no, I'm not playing it, I think. Reading your lyrics, listening to your music, what do you think the balance is when you're in a relationship between your need to feel as though you are either saving someone or giving them your all and loving them, and then your need to be loved? What's that balance, that ratio, do you think, between those two things? I like to be loved, or I like to give love.
I think you just have to be as honest as you can, really, and put up boundaries that you need to, like
Early doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to remember sometimes I can't reply to everyone. Someone will send a message that hurts me a lot, and they're like, please reply, and I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry, I have to look after myself. But also,
Is that part of your mental health journey that you've had to kind of go, right, I need to
Sometimes.
prioritize myself,
Yeah.
whereas I've perhaps been prioritizing everybody else
I think
before?
so. Yeah, sometimes. That's really hard. And like, I don't really like to talk about it because it's difficult. I'm still navigating it. It's just really complicated. There's no rule book on this at all.
No, there isn't. No.
And that's
There's
so
no
I
sat
think
nav, is there?
I know. I think that's why there's like a lot of people online who find themselves with audiences now who are experiencing a sort of burnout because there's this is so new and like there's so much pressure and expectation. No one knows what they're doing.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. Well, because I guess the rules and the regulations, and I was saying this earlier on in an interview I did, have to catch up with the lived experience. The rules and regulations, unfortunately, can't be there beforehand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to do it through
Exactly,
experience. And
yeah.
in many ways, it's your generation that are at the vanguard of this. So in 20 years' time, it's quite interesting. Do you know the comedian Simon Amstel?
No.
He was on earlier on. And he was saying that in his book, he's written about the future and say, what things about 2019 will people look back on? Like, you know, like we look on it now and go, wow, were people against gay marriage? Like, how weird is that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I wonder what people will be
yeah.
thinking.
So in like 20 years' time, what will they think about us? And I wonder what they will think about a YouTube generation and go, wow, how did they allow that to happen?
Yeah, I hope people will be. I mean, there are a lot of people who are very understanding, like right now, but I think maybe they'll look back at. I mean, it's similar to like, you know, like the shame put on like celebrities around the naughties, you know, like taking the pee.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can swear. Out of like, I don't know, like Amy Winehouse. And now we look back and like that
Yes.
beautiful film, like just explains and like kind of opens up all the struggles
that
she
was
was having. And
devastating.
I bet we all feel awful now for like doing that. And I'm sure maybe.
It's so fascinating that you say that.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that I took away from that film that was almost that every time I picked up a newspaper and perhaps slightly sniggered or just went, oh, gosh, she's gone on a mad one again.
Yeah.
Actually, I was complicit
Yeah.
in not understanding that this was a deeply fragile and vulnerable human being that needed help, didn't need to be on the front page of a
Definitely not.
red top
Yeah.
newspaper every day. But then again, how do artists like that and their experiences help artists like you now to avoid any of those pitfalls? And her pitfalls weren't created by the music industry.
No.
Not by any stretch of imagination.
No, but I guess they definitely didn't help.
No.
I don't think. I don't really know. I think
How easy is
that's,
it to say no?
To what?
To any of the pressures, because a lot of the
Oh.
things was, you know, go back on tour.
Right,
you need another
I
record
see.
out. You need to do
Yeah,
this. You need
it's hard. It's hard. I don't really know. Again, still learning when to put up
23, right?
boundaries. Yeah, exactly.
3 EPs, right? Yeah, I mean, you know.
I know. It's still
Yeah.
learning when it is time. Like, for example, I think meeting people, I've put up a boundary of like, okay, I think 100 people at a time is my absolute limit because I'm like human being. I'm
So
a body
post show,
and
there may well be 100 people that will come and do a meet and greet.
I used to try and meet everyone because I felt like obviously you'd want to say thank you and be like, thank you so much to all
That's
these
so
people who
cool.
want to. I know, but there'd be like hundreds and hundreds.
Thank you,
and then-
Dodie, for doing Wembley Stadium. She'll be here till week on Thursday. Saying hello to all of
At
you.
some point, you've got to be like, oh no, I have to kind of not do this anymore. I have to put a limit on it, and it's so hard because obviously, I wish I could just hold everyone's face who's ever cared and been like, thank you so much. This means so much to me that you even listened to it once. Thank you, but you can't because I'm human and that's impossible.
But your social media allows you to do that a lot more than perhaps artists 20 years ago were able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's definitely a good part of it. That's so cool. That it's so open. Like there's such open communication with people who support me.
So 3 EPs. So then what is next? Because the EPs are what? I mean, they're kind of mini statements.
I would say they're projects. I almost want to say practice goes, though I am very proud of them. But yeah, I've kind of been like working with different producers because obviously I started writing in my bedroom. So like I was producing by myself and then bringing it to a studio was a whole new experience. And that was difficult to kind of like do at first and like bring to other people to share creativity and also like make louder and more professional. It was really difficult. But I think over 3 EPs, I've learned what I don't like and what I do like. And maybe it's time to look at something more long form and yeah, maybe an album. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I mean, obviously I'm going to write an album
Yeah,
at some
of
point,
course.
hopefully.
Well, you say obviously, but you know, rather than spending 3 years of your life making one piece of music, the world moves at such a fast pace that now as emotions come and songs write, you could arguably every 4 months put an EP out for the rest of your career. I mean,
maybe.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I think for me personally, though, I'd quite like to have like a solid thing now. I wanna, cause like I don't know, even now, like not now, cause I do like the new EP that's coming out. Go stream it when it's out. Yeah. I think even now, if someone's like, "Oh, I listen to your music on Spotify," I'm like, just wait for like better ones. I'm sure there's better ones to come. So it'd be nice to kind of like make something. I mean, I'm always looking forward. I'm always like, what's next? So.
And then the experiences that you need to have in order to fuel the creativity.
You're right. This is like a common theme with any artist. It's like, I make art when I'm in pain, and now I'm happy. What now?